Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night, time for another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony Has Nine Fingers.
What is going on, people?
And Tony, would you like to introduce our very special guest, or welcome back our very special guest?
Sure, a returning guest. I think this is probably your third time on here for the movie Last Cabin, but I'm sure we'll talk about a lot more. My buddy, Ben Newmark.
What's going on, Ben?
Hey guys,
What's up?
thank you for having me back. Let me try and fix my camera so it doesn't look like I'm actually just hanging out in my bathroom for this.
Yeah, welcome back. It's been a little while since we had you on. Yeah, so the Last Cabin is out streaming right now. You can rent it on Amazon Prime for a very reasonable price, $4.99. Definitely worth it to support, independent filmmakers and independent film. And if you've seen any of the other movies that Ben has been in, like it's quality stuff. And I actually have the trailer that we're gonna play later. But yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about? I know you said that you've talked about this movie over and over again, but do you want to talk about it one more time?
I do. I kind of meant that sarcastically because I don't know if you caught on with this about me, but I love talking about myself when I do things that I really love.
Okay.
So the films I don't talk about. There's a reason for that. The films I just want to talk about over and over and over again means I genuinely like them, which is why Last Cabin is one of those like, oh, I'll talk about it all day.
Okay.
And that was one of the most fun experiences I had making a film. It was a complete rock and roll type of situation to make that happen for me. And seeing that final product was like, yeah, this movie's badass. I like this a lot. This one was a good one. When we had the premiere at MegaCon down here in Orlando, it was through the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival. It was the first time seeing it on a big screen. And, you see the rough cuts. And, all right, this is okay. This is a decent movie. And when you finally got to see it on the screen, it was mind-blowing what a good film it was, considering, it's a horror movie. We're indie. We're low budget with TBS. But seeing it on the big screen was like, nope, we can compete with this one. I would believe that this could go on Peacock tomorrow. And I got to watch it sitting next to Brendan Rudnicki, the director. And it was so good, I forgot he made the movie. It was just one of those things where I was like, this is a good movie, right? Never mind, you made it. You know this is a decent movie. So, yeah, I'll talk about this one all day long. I had such a great time with this.
Nice. So this we've seen this location before. So you've come on for another movie that was filmed at the same cabin, right? Or
no, they've never used the same location twice. This
Really?
one was in, I think this one was just outside of Tallahassee, and I think you're thinking of the cabin in Forest of Death. Totally different. That Forest of Death cabin was really weird. You had to go up an absurd amount of stairs to get there.
Oh,
The
okay.
houses were broken into two sections. We had a fun trailer park family that was renting it out to us. That was probably a little creepier than the movie. With the Last Cabin, this place was beautiful. It had this wide acreage. The road to get there was a little scary, but without the added film ambience, it was actually just a really nice, beautiful cabin.
I don't know. I just
Maybe it was a forest, like the like outside scenes, like when they were. I don't want to give too much away, but when they were running away from everybody, maybe that kind of looked familiar.
maybe.
Well, I'll tell you this about Florida. We don't have the most unique looking woods unless you're willing to go into the swamps. most of our forests and wooded areas kind of look the same. It's not like different parts of the country where you have giant pine trees or, like in New Jersey, every forest looks a little different. In Florida, it's all kind of the same. Everything looks very similar. So, like a cold grave, we shot Central Florida, forest to death. I think like Southwest Florida, if I remember, and this was almost to Georgia. All three kind of look alike.
Yeah, no, it's a cool location either way. But yeah, I feel like a dummy. I just watched it. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah, if you're not from here, you'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
that looks the same. No, it's Florida.
It's still a cool place though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a cool location. It's good to know that you could find cool looking places like that, like out in the wild, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's funny because the whole premise is two location scouts that are starting to find this location where that's kind of like a DBS thing, which is trying to find the right location that's easy enough for people to get to. So I think that was something that probably hit home when he was writing it, because that always seems to be a big thing, and not just for most films. It's so much of it's based around where are you going to film, how can everyone get there, what's closest to the airport, what's an easy drive, what has a basement, just the most bizarre things. So I think that was something that was brought in that made definitely hit home with The Last Cabin.
What has a basement? So is that like a criteria you guys look for?
No, that's the running joke. Nothing in Florida has basements.
I was going to
You
say,
can never do like a creepy basement scene. You got to leave the state.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, I didn't think they had basements because of flooding and stuff in Florida.
No, it's one of those things that you don't realize how much you appreciate until you don't have one.
Yeah, no,
I'd love to have a basement.
My house doesn't have a basement. We own this house and it doesn't have a basement. We're on a slab, just like in Florida.
Yeah, see, I have a garage that could technically be a basement, but it's not because it's a garage. So
I don't even have a garage. I have two sheds and one of them's fallen over. So, but no, I feel the pain. But yeah, I was just like, wait a minute, they have basements in Florida? Maybe I'll move. Maybe I will move there eventually.
I don't have a shed, and I want a shed. I'd love to have a shed.
I'll trade you one shed, not the fallen over one. I'll give you the good one, and I'll trade you for the garage.
I don't want to do the whole. I could probably trade you half the garage for.
All right,
it's a pretty big garage.
Right. Okay, deal.
Okay.
I was totally just thinking something, and my wife just yelled at the cats, so I totally lost track of what I was going to say. Tony, go ahead.
But you've been working with these guys for a few different movies, and I've been watching a few of these movies, and you could definitely see progression as they get further and further in. With this one, I must say there's a lot more gore to it than I'm used to, especially like your scene. Again, not giving anything away, but I was like, oh, okay, they threw some, because other ones it was like more implied. This one kind of hit you right in the face, so it kind of caught me off guard.
Yo, when I saw this for the first time, it caught me off guard. Because there's just a lot of random stuff that Brent and I will text each other about or talk about, including things like, it would be fun to kill someone with a lawnmower. Never thinking he's actually going to pull it off. Like, that was one of those that it got me to pop when I was watching it for the first time. Like, oh, you did it! Oh, good for you. That's awesome. That was great. I applaud that murder. Hooray for murder, everybody. Let's hear it for murder.
Yeah.
So that was, he really upped it because, Forced to Death, the first one I ever did with him, still one of my favorite movies because I love that kind of camp. I love that kind of fun in a movie. So that hits home for me. But, there's not, a lot of the complaints you read is that there's not a lot of death, there's not a lot of violence, there's not a lot of gore. And then we did A Cold Grave together, which was, a fully improvised movie with some beats written in, but we didn't do a lot with horror, like classic gory horror, with a lot of violence and blood, because there was only 5 people. You can't murder everybody off violently. So we had a knife stab and a lot of running. And then he progressed a little more. You saw Shadows of Bigfoot. That was really gory. That's really where he started to up the gore factor. And I know watching that, I got excited to do another one with him because I said, he's going to do something nuts. So when it came to the last cabin and we started creating the Kevin character, which is a great name for anyone named Kevin, just going to throw it out there. I do love that name. And if you're curious where it came from, Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
When he started describing how that character was going to go, and all I wanted was like, he's the first one, right? Like first main one, like prologue doesn't count because I want to be number one because that's kind of my thing. It's my favorite thing is to be the first one out. Like you saw Meth Gator, first one out, loved it. Everyone had to see it. All the critiques came from that moment forward. Same thing here. And he's like, you're gonna do what with a hammer? All right, this isn't gonna work. You want to do what? No, that's not happening. But they have Tegan with Cause and Effects Makeup, who is a savant. She does all the effects for this film. All the makeup, all the kills, everything was her. Those are all of her effects. And she also played Mud Flaps, the girl serial killer clown. So she would go from being a masked killer who's murdering and killing to having to go inside, take the mask off, and apply the wounds that she and everyone else was inflicting. There's some kind of weird irony in there, or a circle of life moment. I'm not sure. But she's another one of those mega talents that can do those types of things. But even then, I said, this is not going to work. And as she was doing the prosthetics and makeup, she was even saying, I don't think this is going to work. And I played it as if it wasn't going to work. Because, screw it, let's spoil it. People who are watching has probably seen the movie. And if they're not, I'm going to make it sound good enough they're all going to have to go watch the movie. So I get bludgeoned with a hammer. And it's great. Definitely watch it because none of us had confidence this hammer was going to do what we wanted to do, which was that hanging out effect. We thought, hey, we could show it for a second and then pull the hammer out and we'll have this big wound. And right at the last minute, as soon as we're done, on a time crunch like you wouldn't believe, because I got to wrap and get home to my kids, she's like, all right, here we go, let's try it. And she managed to make the wound to have a bit of a hook in it so she could hang it. And at first, all right, it's going to rip everything out. Hopefully not. Let's get ready to glue it back on. All right, totally. Quick, take it out. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to do this in one take as quickly as possible because we don't know if this thing's going to hold. So let's put it in and let's go. So she's in the scene with me as Mudflaps, the evil killer clown. Put it in, action, go, turn around. And, I felt it still hanging. Completed the scene, did everything I had to do, done, hit the ground, it stayed in. I pop back up, the hammer stays in. Oh, we can do that again. We have to adjust it. No, this hammer is just staying. This thing, we didn't know if it was going to work, which is so perfectly placed that at no point was this thing falling out. She nailed it. Everything else in there, fantastic, but I will speak highly of the hammer because I got to experience how great her work is. And I was just so happy to be able to get that depth where I get all that blood and all that splatter, that giant hole. It made me very happy.
Yeah, and then the second part to that when you're on the ground and it just keeps on. Yeah. And then you hear it more than anything, but it's like, oh, okay, something's going on there.
That's where you can tell he upped the gore factor because there was a point, and a lot of indie horror will do this, just, budget and let your mind fill in. You'll hear it, you'll see a glimpse, and then you move on. With here, we showed it and then showed it. And it was a quick glimpse, but you
understood what was going on at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we're not aware. A couple seconds, and you're just like, okay, yeah, this is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, this escalated quickly. I always take that as a wrestling term when, the heavy favorite. Years ago, Daniel Bryan was the favorite to win the Royal Rumble, and he was, the fifth guy eliminated. That's how I kind of take this was, here's another main character. Here's a guy we're going to, who's going to take up all the screen time. He's going to be larger than life, and he's thrown over the top rope. But that was awesome because that depth was great, and now we're just going to go in this frenetic pace the entire way.
And it's one of those movies, with that, speaking of, the clowns and stuff, it had that, Stranger feel to it, or, You're Next or something, where it was, that home invasion, not home invasion type deal, where it's, most of the time they're just, circling and wondering, what the hell is going to go on type deal. So it had, that thriller aspect to it, plus the whole gore aspect. So I dug it a lot.
I know that was a lot of Brendan's influence for putting this together. Was The Strangers was a big one. Texas Chainsaw was a big one. He really wanted you to not know why this was happening. Like, that's really his goal, was to say, I just want people to be scared because they don't know. Because if you explain everything to them, then you can think of a way out of it. But if you're just in a panic mode, then everything's fair game. Because no one knows what they're going to do when they're really panicking. It's very easy to see people in the movie go, why wouldn't you go outside? Why wouldn't you call? Why would you just tackle them? Like, buy a gun. It's very easy to say that until you're in that situation of all the lights are off, it's dark, I hear a noise, oh my God, I see something, I wet myself. So I like that he went with that approach, because you could have done a campfire monologue with someone giving a full exposition, or you could have just said, we're going to kill someone really early and just go and not explain it, enjoy the ride. And I like that he went with the roller coaster effect.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it felt like, was we're starting up, we're coming down a little, we're peaking, and now once it's going, it is a dash to the end.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So how long, so it's on Prime now. How long has it been out?
I believe it's 2 weeks today.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, 2 weeks today. It's on Fandango, Google Play, YouTube Film, Apple, and Amazon's the biggest one. And so far, we've reached as high as number 31 on the Amazon charts, which is kind of insane.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Most indie horror doesn't get on the charts, let alone past the 80s. So to be up to 31 is very, very cool, especially 2 weeks in. Usually they peak at about a month in, once they have to build up some steam and momentum. So we don't know where this one's going to go. It just keeps peaking and peaking and peaking.
Yeah. Sergio was already asking if you missed the trailer. He didn't. Sergio, you didn't miss the trailer. This trailer's going to be about halfway point, so you still got a little bit of time. So you have time to miss it.
But the thing is, now we've been talking the last couple of weeks with different people, and it's just indie film isn't what it used to be even like 2 years ago. Now people are actually looking at indie film like, I want to see it. I want to see something new. Before it was just like back here where it's like, okay, here's the indie films, we hear about them, but whatever. Now people are actually like seeking them out from the success of bigger, that like independent, but bigger independent. So
that kind of feels like where the culture is just going as a country. Is people generally seem to be so burned out with everything they feel like they've been force fed. And this isn't a political thing. This is everything. Where everything's so shoved in our face, and there's a lot of people just go, I'm done. Like, I want something different. I want to go find it myself. It almost, indie film to me feels very much like the early 90s with grunge. Where, hey, all this pop music's great on the charts, but Mudhoney's awesome. And Nirvana is great. Stone Temple Pilots is great. That's how I see a lot of the indie film, and most that's coming from horror. Like, Terrifier is $1 million movie. Screamboat is $1 million movie. Clown in a Cornfield is out. Like, these aren't things that we would think would be hitting big 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't have that coming, and now it's, hey, there's $1 million movies that are horror and independent. They're doing great. There's $500,000 movies that are great. There's $100,000 movies right now that look like they could stream on Netflix tomorrow, and because their people are more invested, they're trying to do a better job. So, hey, the lighting may not be as great, the editing may not be as great, the sound, a lot of the glitz and glamour and the pyro and ballyhoo that Hollywood would give you, they're getting rid of that just to see people doing something different, just to get a different story, a different look. That's why I love this, the way people are like, hey, it's like The Strangers. Even the people like, it's like Temu Strangers. You know what? You're kind of right. And we need more.
There's nothing wrong with
seem to have an appetite for this.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, because The Strangers is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, that's like someone saying, oh, you're like knockoff Jaws.
Okay.
The greatest horror movie of all time? Yes, I'm the knockoff Jaws.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a ton of movies that are knockoff Jaws. There's a ton.
And they're great. Not all of them.
Exactly.
But they're all worth a shot. They're all
Exactly.
given the same opportunity, and that's really
Everyone's inspired by something. Everyone is. The you were talking about all these movies and like that. There's talking about like originality and stuff. Like it's totally getting off subject, and I apologize, but there's that horror movie that is coming out that's like totally done in the perspective from the dogs. Like it's a Good Boy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's coming out soon. Like stuff like that. That's coming to Shudder, and it's like that's I can't wait. Like
It's different. It's unique. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, totally. But you're not going to see that in other genres. You're not going to see, I mean, you could, they could do it. They could do it for other genres, but I don't know. I think they're afraid.
Yeah,
Horror is awesome.
I think today was either Variety or Forbes released how much all the executives of all these companies are making. And you can tell why, they've been doing the same thing for so long. They're making $50-60 million a year. They don't want to change it.
Yeah.
They want to hit their KPI, they want to make their numbers, and they want to keep going forward in their careers. But what they're not doing is pushing art. They're not pushing creativity. They're pushing the bottom line, and they're giving us Fast and Furious in space, which is great. They're giving us Space Godzilla, which I can't wait for. But what I'm not getting is the next Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the next Reservoir Dogs. I'm not getting the next Clerks. I'm not getting the next big thing from Hollywood.
Right.
You're getting it from the independents. Like, that's where it's coming from. And people have that appetite to just not want all the bullshit that goes into these other Hollywood movies. They just want to, tune out, lock in for 90 minutes and watch something that's fun, that doesn't have an agenda, that's not trying to appeal to multiple markets, that's not plugging Pepsi or Diet Coke or anything else that's just marketed right towards you. Like, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, people get sick of that, and they'd rather watch something where, hey, these people are new at their craft, they're pretty good at it, I'm watching them get better. Wow, the movie's over right now? I don't want my money back. I enjoyed that. That was great. Yeah. I need more of this. I need more of the man who killed Hitler and the Bigfoot.
I remember.
And the Bigfoot.
But the thing is, like, talking about, like, the people making that 50-60 million a year or whatever, it's like, did you try anything else? Because at that point in time, that 50 or 60 million could turn into 100 million very easily if you throw something different
But
at people.
But they're also afraid that if they throw something different at people and it fails, that they're not going to get their 50 or 60 million.
That's what, and there's the craziest thing to me is that there's guys, they're making absurd, life-changing money. Their kids won't have to work, and they're afraid to take a risk. But like The Last Cabin, DBS Films, like Brendan, if he makes a bad movie, like, he can't pay his bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's his line. Like, he puts his money where his mouth is.
Yep.
So if he's going to make a movie, that's coming directly out of his pocket. He's not taking funding from GoFundMe or back-end producers. Like, it's coming out of his pocket. He'll take more of a risk than 98% executives in Hollywood will. And that fundamentally to me is a problem, because I've worked, I've done my Hollywood stuff. I did my network stuff. And I don't think I enjoy that as much as I've done this run of my independence. And this is the first time where I really feel like more of an artist. Like, I can actually grow, I can create, I can do things. And a lot of that comes from working with someone whose life is on the line with everything he does. Because financially, if this movie doesn't do well, he may not get to make another movie. So he's got to put everything he's got into it, where someone who's got all the money in the world, who should be doing that, just won't. And that's, I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me why there's so many talented people I've worked with on the indies that they're just not breaking through. But I see the same miserable, crappy, soul-taking actors on Netflix all the time. And that's like, good for you. You've got a great agent, you're a Nepo, you networked your way in. You're not as good as Jared Bankins, who I worked with. You're just not as good as him. It's not happening. And look at this film. This was Isabella's first leading role in a feature film. First time ever carrying a film. We can probably go on Netflix right now and find 20 other films with actresses whose IMDb is like the Bible long. that she's already better than. But they're probably going to keep going back to that same actress because her agent knows the guy, who knows the manager, who knows the casting, and it's that same cycle.
In a lot of ways too. Like it's all it's about social media popularity and stuff too. In a lot of instances, like that. There's people that get cast just because of they have followers or whatever, and in some bigger things, and they may not have any experience at all, and they're in some big, some.
Well, the problem is all you got to do is put certain people's names on there, and people will go to watch it just because. Look at Scream back in the day, where it was Drew Barrymore, but she was in it for 4 minutes, not even 3 minutes, and killed in the first scene. It's like, oh, but she was in it, so that's why.
You know what's funny is my obsession with being the first death has everything to do with Drew Barrymore and Scream. Because that swerve got me better than anything I've ever seen. Where I thought I was going to see Drew Barrymore. And then she's dead, and I got to a totally other movie, and by the end of it, I forgot she was in it. But when you think of that was such an iconic opening. That's why anytime I can get a role where it's, we want you in the film, where do you want to play? Like, where do you want to go? I want first half. If I'm doing a horror movie, I want first half. Because I think that's the one where if you do that character correctly, you have that ability to elevate and make it seem like, oh, this is going to be our protagonist of the story. This is the main character. We're going to follow him through. I'm investing in this character. Oh my God, he's dead. What's going to happen next?
Mm-hmm.
That's where it all came from. Drew Barrymore and Scream. I literally just ripped her off like 4 months.
But the thing is, though, too, is like, especially in horror movies, I think most of the time people remember the death scenes rather than who made it. Unless, of course, it's, someone you really like. Okay, they made it through the entire movie. But especially nowadays with the way that people die in these movies, it's like, I remember that more.
Horror movies. I mean, for me, like, like as soon as you said that people remember death scenes more than anything, it just made me think of Usual Suspects with Kaiser Soze. I'm like, I remember that more than anything. But so, if you're being specific about horror, I guess.
Oh, no, you're right. Because that's any genre. If you're telling a mystery, the moment the mystery gets solved should be what you remember more than anything. Like the Knives Out movies, when he puts that all together, I'm in. Sherlock Holmes, I'm in.
Yeah.
When you have the Hallmark style movies, the rom-coms, the romance, the moment they fall in love, that's what you should remember. With horror, it's the kill. You should remember the kills. Those are the things that matter the most in genre. Like the comedy, what was the biggest laugh? That's where you want to go. So yeah, you're totally right with how that is.
See, I don't know. I don't know. You know my opinion on some slow burns, and sometimes like it's not even the kill. It's more of the, like with Silence of the Lambs, it's more of the suspense.
Well, at that point,
is that really horror? Because I think
it's considered horror. It's considered
thriller is a horror. So I mean, it depends on the style of horror movie too. Because if it's like a bloodbath, I'm gonna remember the most of the deaths rather than.
In the horror category, because I love the Babadook. That movie scares the hell out of me. Nothing happens. I'm legit terrified of that movie, but nothing really happens.
See, but movies like Silence of the Lambs, I think is a terrifying movie. I think that movie, like it gets my heart going.
Well, I think maybe if that's going to be in horror, we'd probably put that in psychological horror.
Yeah.
In which case, that's got to be like The Conjuring to me is more mystery horror. And I love those because they're not just going after demon; they're trying to solve a case.
Yeah,
they're more like procedural horror. So in that one, I want the same thing I want for procedural.
Yeah.
Sorry, all right. So within horror and all the different genres,
I'm just being super nitpicky now. I'm just being a jerk. Just real quick, Life is Pain is back in the chat. He hadn't been able to make the shows for a while, but he's here. He just wanted to point out he pointed out, because I mentioned that people with followers and stuff like that sometimes get in movies, but he wanted to point out that Talk to Me was made by 2 YouTubers, which is true. And that movie is really good. That movie was really fun. And
it had the A24 backing, so that's the one thing that
I think they were YouTubers. They were like, that was their first feature, and And then he's saying we were talking about remembering kills. He's saying I'll never forget that yoga kill from The Violent Nature, when she's on a cliff, brutal. And he's saying Silence of the Lambs is too real. It could happen.
Yeah.
It's that and like Seven. I think Seven's a great movie and it's scary as well. And it's because it's something that could happen. I don't know.
But even in Seven, we all remember the kill at the end.
Yeah, but even Strangers, like I say the same thing about Strangers. That's something that could happen too, and that's what makes that movie so scary.
You know what's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen is a film called Cachet. I've never seen the American version. I've only seen the foreign one, but nothing happens for like 2 hours except a guy gets videotapes of him and his family being recorded, and it is terrifying. It is one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen, but like nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends on a twist where nothing happens, and it's the most terrifying nothing happens I've ever seen.
Wow.
And those, like, for me, those are the type of movies that I love from the acting perspective, but from like a style of horror that I like to act in, I like the gory stuff. It's just more fun to play with. But the psychological horror as a fan is what I'm always more drawn to.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
If you can scare me by doing nothing, I'm in.
It's tough. I have to be in like the right mood for particular kinds of horror. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't know. Like there's movies that I would sit there and say this is my favorite horror movie or this is one of my all-time favorite horror movies, and like be like, all right, let's sit down and watch them. Like I really don't want to. Like I don't want to. I have to be in the right mood for it. Like same thing with comedies and everything. But yeah, with certain, I don't know, man. There's too many subgenres, I guess.
Oh yeah, like I think that's one of the fun things about film is even when you think you know it, the more you talk about and think about it, the more it breaks up. Like someone asked me a while ago, "What's my favorite musical?" And man, I broke because I love the Blues Brothers. Is that really a musical? Yeah, maybe not. Okay, well, I guess it's Tommy by the Who. Is that really? Or I think that's more like a rock and roll album. I don't know. I guess it's the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Or maybe Across the Universe. Does that count? So it's one of those where within that genre there's more. And even with horror, like I love Jaws. Jaws is one of my all-time favorite movies. I also love Jason Takes Manhattan. I'll die in a hill saying that's a perfect movie. I love Jason Takes Manhattan.
It's a very fun movie.
Burn of anything. When he gets to New York, it is amazing. People hate that movie. I don't get it. I love that movie.
He kicks that's my third. Like, if I had to pick between like the first and Takes Manhattan, it's very tough for me. I mean, I like the original, but it's just like, you know, being from the tri-state area and him coming here and like, you know, it's
like early '90s New York with Jason. I don't need the whole movie. I need 5 minutes. You gave me 5 minutes of the greatest Jason death with him boxing a kid on a rooftop, one punch, head falls off into a dumpster. He kicks a boombox for no reason. He's in the sewer.
They're like, what the fuck is wrong? And then he just turns around. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was a Ninja Turtle and a slice of pizza away from that being the greatest movie ever. That close.
I think if the Ninja Turtle showed up even in the background or something, people's heads would have exploded back then.
Yeah, that's all I needed for that to be a perfect movie. But
you know,
at the same time, like I love the Conjuring series. The third one wasn't great, but I love those movies. I like the whole series. I think those are great. And then when you got to go, you know, classic horror, you know, Friday the 13th, they're great. But I also love Jason X. Like that's the thing about horror. You have horror comedy like Tucker and Dale. You can have serious horror where things could really happen, which freak me out. You can have the obscure horror, something that may not even seem like a horror, like Mysterious Skin. To me, is a terrifying movie. I don't even think it's a horror. I think it's a drama, but it scares the hell out of me because it's too real.
Life is Pain has a very good question. I don't know if you know the answer to, because I don't know how. Besides acting, I don't know how much you go into the making of the movie side of things, but. Question for Benjamin: if you wanted to have a scene in an independent movie showing another movie on the TV for a short scene like Halloween 3 or something, do you need to pay them for the rights?
Oh yeah, you can't just do that.
Unless what if it's something where you're doing like a short film that it's never going to be, there's no profit.
Like a film festival film?
Yeah.
Unless the festival needs to have rights cleared, you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you're not trying to make money off of it. That's how there's so many fan films on YouTube,
Yeah.
which kind of generate revenue, but not really. It's like grayer, but no, if you're like Brendan can't just put whatever he wants in a film. We actually tried for A Cold Grave. We had Paul Mald, who did the opening credit scene for here and the closing credits for Forced to Death, to End of My Driveway. And that was great, but for A Cold Grave, we want him to do a cover of a Johnny Cash song. And, Johnny Cash did a cover of a cover that was in the public domain. And he did it. It's a public domain song, but because it was so well known as a Johnny Cash song, when we got to the distribution phase, they needed it removed. Because they said they could probably clear it, but the legal cost of that would be too much. So if we could just swap that out, that would be great. So, we had him record an entire song, which was great, and they couldn't use it because it was too much like it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a great cover, too. He's got such a raspy rock roll voice that him covering Johnny Cash was such a perfect fit.
Yeah. I do want to play the trailer. We are about halfway, and I know that Sergio, I think, already took his break, and he came back asking if he missed a trailer. So, no, Sergio, but now is your opportunity to miss the trailer. But here is the trailer for The Last Cabin. We'll be back in exactly 1 minute and 9 seconds.
Let's see how many people recognize me.
We work our ass off. Does anyone notice? No. If we can secure a cabin like this last minute, dude, imagine. I hear a promotion. So we are a production company, and we're just looking for a cabin like this to film just a few scenes very quick.
Just be careful about going too far back into the woods or messing with any of the locals. Some of them are backward folk, had a whole camp set up. Well, the developer came in with the police, rounded them all up, and then kicked them out. Whew, they were pissed about that.
But then what happened to them?
I think you guys did it. I think you guys found a perfect location for that. I am proud.
There you go. There's a
I
trailer.
wonder how many people recognize me.
I did. But I've also seen the movie. But yeah, so the like I was saying earlier, this is streaming VOD in multiple locations. I didn't know, but I know that it's on Amazon, which is the major one right now is Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So you should go support independent art and go rent the movie.
So the lead actress, it was her first time leading. How many other of the crew were new? Because there was a few new faces that I haven't seen in some of the other movies.
I'm trying to think. I know. Let's see. From the opening, Austin. I actually we were supposed to do a TV pilot together that got stuck in development hell for years. So we knew each other coming into this. And I remember seeing his name when Brendan was casting. I'm like, oh, this guy. Go with this guy. He's awesome. I know him. He's really cool. Trying to think. I don't know everyone's resume off the top of my head, but I know like Tanner was relatively new, which, you wouldn't really be able to tell it too much. For most people, I think, aside from me, they're still, I'd say, within the first couple of years of their career. I'm not sure about Brendan Gauchet. I think he's got a decent amount of experience. But he was another guy that if you told me he'd been doing it for 10 years, I'd believe it. If you told me he'd been doing it for a year, I'd believe it, because everything with him was very natural and very charismatic. And when I was working with him for, my style is fully improvised. And one of the things I like working with Brendan so much is we have a routine at this point with all the films we've done and the trust we've built, where we built the Kevin character and never looked at a script. So he wanted someone that was going to be like Ari from Entourage, which show I love. So hell yeah, we're going to do this. Okay, well, we'll build from there. So we built from that base of, we want hyper intense producer. Got it. Where do I go from there? And then I remembered that I knew a guy a long time ago that was that kind of arrogant, stuck up, looked down on everyone else prick. And it was me in my early 20s. I was kind of that guy. So I said, oh, I know the voice I'm going to use for this character, because I always find a voice and a speech pattern, and I build from there. So with Kevin, it was, what was I like at 21 and 22? Because most people did not seem to like me very much back then. So I went back and I tapped into that part of myself, and I started building from there of, all right, I want this from Ari, I want this from my personality, I want to put this together and create this person that is focused and intense and will not accept failure, but is also dedicated to wanting to succeed. So everything he's going to do, he's doing for the end goal. This is going to work and it's going to happen. Don't get in my way. So we built the character. Didn't really look at the script much. Then I picked out the look, which was, okay, what screams early 2000s, late 90s douche? Oh, I want ripped jeans, a dirty t-shirt, and a dress jacket. Got it. All right, I want that. And then with the kill, I knew what it was going to be. Hammer to the head, a lot of blood, and I went to my wrestling source, which I do for every character. There's always wrestling and everything. Wrestling is the greatest theater. And I knew I wanted the white shirt because if you go back to the 80s and 90s and even Hogan in the 2000s, if you saw Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes or Hulk Hogan come out in white, they were going to bleed like a stuck pig. They were going to bleed everywhere. As soon as you saw them in white, you knew that was happening. And I said, wow, I want that. You know what else? All those guys had blonde hair.
Yep.
If we're doing this at night, I want something that pops. And I really like that with Forest to Death, when it was going to be at night, I wore the white camo as opposed to regular camo because it popped. With A Cold Grave, I wore red gloves because that red pops. Even in Meth Gator, I wanted to wear purple pants because they would stand out. And where's that color? I always want to do something different to make someone seem real. We don't all walk around wearing the same clothes. So I said, what will pop? Well, he's got to be blonde. He's got to look like Ric Flair. I have to have a nice dress jacket, a nice ripped jeans. So he's got to look fancy while still being a total and complete douchebag. So it's got to be Ric Flair plus Hollywood douche and me. Oh, I got the look. I got the act. I got the mannerisms. Okay, I got this now. And that was Kevin. And on the drive up, which was very cool, because my youngest was 1 or 2 years old at the time. I was on full-time dad duty when my wife was working. So we had from the time she got home to the time she had to go to work to get me to set, make a movie, and get me back home. So Kellen Rudnicki picked me up. We drove 3 hours to the set. About 5 or 10 minutes before we got to the set, I said, I should probably read the script and see what we're doing. So I glanced through it again from the first initial reading. I was like, okay, I remember what we're doing. Got it. Put it out of my head. Because once you know the character, you know the movement, you know the goal, you know the scene, you know where you want to go. Showed up. Everyone there was violently sick. I was on so many different types of like Z-Packs and stuff because we had a film festival 2 days before we all got really sick at. So I got there, everyone's sick, ready to go. I'm just going to power through it. I had my Buck Cherry music blasting in my head to get the energy going. Brendan said, you know what we're doing? I said, no clue, man. He's like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I need you to come in through that door. What do you want me to do? He goes, just pop it and then do whatever you want. Okay. So there was that first pop and then a couple different takes. Let's go. I thought I had a funnier take when I mentioned my swamp sack. You like the mosquitoes feeding on my testicles. All lines off the top of my head. And then we're going to go into the kitchen and here's what I need you to do is why are we here? What's going on? And we did that, and it was going long. It was going long until I got to it's a long story. Screw it. Just show me around. And those takes, every single one was a different improv. Editing on the spot, which means every take was a brand new can of Twisted Tea. So if we did 9 takes, that was 9 cans of Twisted Tea, which is why every take just kept getting better. Got yelled at by Dylan for that because they were all his for the after party, but whatever. Art is meant for other people to suffer. Big room, same thing. I need you to get this across and bring it back. Go. Got it. Conversation with Brendan, which is where I realized this guy's a pro. Because it doesn't matter what I threw at him, he knew how to come back at me. With Isabella, it doesn't matter what I'm throwing at her, she knows how to come back. So, all right, so they're in their characters, they know their lines. Let's see what I can throw at them to see if they can keep me on track and see if I can. I like to fluster actors. I feel like it makes it real when you have to react in that moment. It's all about the action. So once we get through that and they can keep up, we can play, we can go, and everything you saw was Brendan's favorite version. No 2 takes were the same. Everything was coming right off the top of my head, and it all came from. I just really liked Entourage. I wanted to bring Ari to life, and started from that little pinpoint, got all the way to the end until he was fully hammered.
Twisted Tea, yeah.
Twisted Tea's gross, by the way.
I'm sure.
That's disgusting. I don't like that drink.
I've never had it. I don't think I mean.
It's pure sugar. You don't taste any of it. You just taste pure sugar.
That's
sugar.
That's where you get the hangovers from. Like they taste all right. It tastes like iced tea, but hyped up a little bit. But stuff like that, or like the Smirnoff ices from back in the day, and stuff like that. That's where you get your hangovers because it's straight up sugar.
Yeah, like I'm more of a like I like a good margarita or a whiskey. I don't like those. You suffer for your art.
You had the vape pen. I didn't know if that was real or not.
That was there's the guy I used to work with. Again, you pull from things you like. When you're creating a douchebag character, you find douchebag traits. Hence the little bob haircut, the whole attitude. But there was a guy that used to have one of those big, obnoxious vape pens. And I just couldn't find one. But as he was talking, he was constantly with the goddamn smoke. I couldn't stand the guy. He made me mental. He was the alpha meathead, but with a beta brain. And it was just one of those tics that used to make me mental. So I knew I wanted to do a lot of hand gestures. And originally I wanted to use it so I could use that to point at people. But it ended up just becoming a little side thing.
Yeah. Right on.
That's weird you noticed that. I'm glad you noticed it. It's those little things that make me happy when people notice the little things that I do.
So I was like, what's in his hand? I'm like, oh, it's a vape pen. It's a 510 cart on a vape pen. I even know it's a 510 cart.
Okay.
Well, with Kevin, he notices like that he like zones in to all his movies, which sometimes gets him in trouble because then it's like, okay, it ruined the movie for me. But he notices that just our other
so
buddy.
Glad you noticed that. I think only Brendan really noticed how he was laughing the whole time while I was editing it. He's like, "You and this pen, man." I was like, "I told you." I was like, "People are gonna like it," but no one has said it except for you. So now I feel great about it.
Well, no, because it totally fit the character. It totally did.
Yeah, nothing against anyone who uses any kind of e-cigarette or vaping device or anything. That's fine, but it's the ones that use it like a tool that make me mental.
So, like, I want you. Not only am I using it so like for myself, but you need to know that it's part of my life. You need to know this. Like
here, smell that. Do you smell that? It's strawberry pina colada molasses. Isn't that great? You know what you need to do? You need to go ahead and no.
So
I don't like you.
So with the other movies, your character kind of like converted into like each movie. This one's a little bit different. So
yes. This this was one of the more fun experiences I had, because with Forest of Death, we created Roger. And it's funny, I was just on Letterboxd before, and I was just randomly reading reviews from Forest of Death. I was trying to find some good one-star reviews, and I ended up realizing that a lot of people still really love that Roger character. Even in 2025, for a movie that's a couple years old now, they're still writing really great things. I had no idea. And from that, we did A Cold Grave, which was Roger, multiverse style, so a different version, serious, broken, so spin-off, sequel, whatever, similar character. And at that point when we wrapped and we saw that movie made its money back in like 10 days, which to me means it's a hit. It made more than Snow White. It did. I made way more money than Snow White with all of them. But I thought that would be the character I play with Brendan forever. It's like, I'm just going to be his Roger character. So when we started talking about a different character, I was like, okay, so we're going to do what we do, but we're going to create something new. Oh, I'm so in. That sounds like so much fun. Because most of the times you do a film, they tell you what you're going to do. There's not a whole lot of collaboration, which is why I don't work as much as I probably should. Because if I don't believe in it, I don't want to be a part of it. I know with Brendan, he's going to make a movie, finish it, release it, and it's going to do well. He avoids the indie, the void of independent films. So we got to create something new. And that was a blast because we had so much fun creating it. And after the very first take as Kevin, his brother was just staring at me, Kellen. And after the second take, he's still staring. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, it's just so weird. I didn't know you could do anything else. I was like, bro, I'm an actor. That's what I do. He's like, didn't really know that. And then since then, we did another one that's coming out later this year, Echoes of Evil, with another totally brand new character. It's nothing like Kevin. It's nothing like Roger. It's a totally brand new thing. I would say that's by far my best looking character in Echoes of Evil because I didn't have to do anything weird. I looked more like a human manga or anime character.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I love, anytime you get to create a character, that's my favorite thing to do. I love creating characters. When you have someone who's willing to collaborate with you and let you walk to the edge of Nick Cage and then reel you back in a little bit while still allowing you to go there, that's my favorite process. And it's very rare that you get that. I have another film coming out later this year, Whispers of the North. And it was weird because on the terms of an indie scale, it's a much higher budget film. That's the one I worked on with Jared Bankins, who you can see on NCIS. Or if you're a fan of the Insane Clown Posse, he was Scarecrow in Off-Ramp, which is not a straight horror movie, but if you're into horror or just anything dark, go watch Off-Ramp. The movie's insane. I watched it because my friend's in it, but I love that movie. It's like one of my favorite movies because it's so weird. But on that, it was weird. I was texting Brendan from that set saying, it's weird, man. It feels like I'm working with you. Because very early on, I clicked with the director where he got to more of an eloquent, older director way of saying, do what you want to do and do that thing you do where you improvise the entire scene. Mm-hmm. It was a much more eloquent way than Brendan saying, go, seeing what happens. And then editing me.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's just, that's that style of working where I've been doing it for so long that you don't always get that rush and that joy and that adrenaline, but when that collaboration is firing on all cylinders, man, I love it. There's nothing in the world like it. Even when it bombs and they make you do that take again and say, scrap everything you did, that was terrible. It's just that rush. I love it.
Nice. So Life is Pain is asking it's a question that comes up a lot, I think, nowadays and all forms of entertainment, but what your thoughts on people who use AI to help with their movie ideas? What are your thoughts? Have you experienced anything like with use AI?
I look at it this way. If you go back through history, everything was at one point controversial when it was new. Seatbelts, for anyone who remembers the 80s, people protested seatbelts. You go back farther than that, and everything at some point was fought and resisted until we found a way to make it a daily thing. I use Grok every day to answer questions. If I had a script or if I was working on something, I'd probably use it. Now, I don't think we're at the point where we can make an entire film on AI. It's going to happen. It's going to suck for a lot of us. AI is going to take over a lot. It's going to put a lot of us out of work. It's going to ruin a lot of lives, but it's definitely coming. So the way I try and rationalize this inevitable dystopian future we're probably going into is either figure it out and learn it and understand it so I'm not overwhelmed by it when it takes over. I've played around with it a lot. I don't think it's at a point where it can fully recreate what people do. I think it's good for formatting. For resume, it's good. I think if you want to, get a rough outline of ideas, like if you're just one of those writers who was like, here's something I have, but I can't break it, I can't crack it. AI is probably going to be a good tool. I think eventually get to a point where it can probably format an entire script and edit it for you, but the content, like, it doesn't matter what we do. Like, you can never teach AI how to cut his finger off in a meat slicer. You can't. That's totally you. You're the most unique person alive. That happened to you and you alone. AI is only going to understand having 10 fingers. It'll never understand the life of 9 fingers. Like, it just won't. It can't do what you do. It cannot be you. But you can give a version of you. It's I don't think it's ever be that authentic.
There are some companies that are like they teach it how to go about their brand, and from what I understand, like designers use it to design new product and stuff, as opposed to paying people to design new product.
Oh yeah, it's going to take jobs. I know. We were just talking about this. There is an AI app that's used to help with film, and it costs something like $25,000 a month to use it. And it's obviously only being used by big film studios. While they're using this for $25,000 a month per pass holder, which means if you have 10 pass holders, it's $250,000 a month to use this AI. They're using that while actively denying ever using AI.
Right.
So it's there. I imagine the good stuff we're probably not going to notice.
Well, you maybe one of these days you'll be able to see this musical Jaws. So that way you can answer your favorite musical is also your favorite horror movie.
Yeah, if someone does that, cool. Maybe that'll make it worth it.
Is it though? Is it really? Would that be really cool? I mean, there was a musical Silence of the Lambs that someone made.
Just imagine that he's throwing the chum off the boat, and it pops his head out and just starts singing.
No, in the musical Silence of the Lambs, they used to play the audio clips of it on Opie and Anthony back in the day. But he's like, put the fucking lotion in the basket. It was just it was like that.
I can't believe I never heard of it. What's crazy is when I was in college, we were very close to producing not a full musical, more of a theatrical audience interactive version of Fight Club. And I love that idea, especially when they go out and they start hitting cars, because we were going to take a camera out and attack everyone's car who was in the audience. I don't remember much else we're going to do. I just remember that was going to be a fun moment. But I think, there's a Back to the Future musical right now. It's supposed to be pretty good.
The Evil Dead musical is awesome. I've gone to see that.
I think you can turn things into musicals, and if no one wants to take the risk, and you could do a proof of concept with an AI, maybe that's the place for AI to make the crazy ideas come true. Or, you get some of these old films that need to be restored.
Yeah.
Maybe it's there. Or, if you go take a film like Morbius or Craven and you want to fix it, run it through the AI.
Make it good. But anyways, on that note, we do have to wrap things up. So where can people go to follow your projects and anything else you got going on?
Oh, just Google me, pick one, Facebook, Instagram, check my IMDb. That ranking still matters to some schmuck casting directors, so I gotta give them a high number to make it feel like I'm worth casting. Yeah, just Google me, pick one, shoot me a message. I usually respond. I'm not the greatest at it, but I'll try.
Yeah.
If you send me something critical, I will definitely respond, especially if it's funny. every time.
There you go. And then and also don't forget to go check out the movie The Last Cabin on all your or most of the major VOD platforms out there.
Whatever your preference is, I was shocked to find out that we were doing so well on Fandango at home.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Tony, what about yourself? Where can people follow you?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where up there is movie reviews and stuff. So I haven't done anything on there, but they're there. So you can find me there. Tony Has Nine Fingers on X, which I don't use, but it's still part of the stick. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, which is my fastest growing platform that you'll find me mostly on. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. And of course, here on the Wicked Horror Show, most Tuesdays, whether we have awesome guests or it's just horror movie talk, you can find us here. Kevin.
That's why I just said Google me. It's so much easier. Just
For me, it's just Stay Knuckle on Instagram. Besides this, I'm also part of That Strange Show, which word on the streets is that we may be doing something soon. We've been out of new episodes for a long time. So yeah, we may be doing some new stuff soon. And thank you everyone for watching and listening. Oh, and real quick too, you mentioned wrestling earlier. I just want to rest in peace to Sabu. I don't know if you guys were EAW guys, but yeah. Sabu. It's crazy too because I just last week's episode of Legion of Skanks, which is a podcast that I watched religiously. It's hosted by 3 stand-up comics. He was one of the guests on, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't seen Sabu in years, and I'm like, he's one of the guests. This is awesome. And then literally, like
it's
5 days later,
2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I just watched his retirement match in GCW against Joey Janela, and I remember thinking like, he can go for another one. Give me a year. He'll do another one.
He said it on Legion of Skanks. He's like, well, for now.
Yeah, like, I didn't think he was really retired. I thought he was going to be like Terry Funk and just go until he.
Yeah.
Which technically, yeah.
He did. But yeah. So rest in peace, Sabu. I mean, I used to love some old school EAW back in the day. EAW, ECW. EAW was a speaker company that I was sponsored by back in the day. But yeah.
Shout out to EAW too.
Yeah, he did say though that that barbed wire matches were easier than tack matches for some reason. But barbed wire, it hurt, but it was just it was more annoying than anything.
Except that one time when he like tore his entire bicep off his body with
against
barbed wire.
The match against Terry Funk where they had to get wire cutters to get them out was that was awesome.
Yeah. It
was amazing.
I got to see him live with ECW once, but this is like obviously way back, and like Taz was wrestling, and you know,
the glory days.
Yeah, someone got stabbed at the show, like
in the crowd.
In the crowd, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a Philadelphia show.
Well, this was in central Massachusetts. Someone just got, like, I don't know. It was one of those kind of shows.
It was someone from Philly. They traveled.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks again for coming on, and it's always a pleasure. And don't hesitate to reach out next time we get something else coming up. And thanks again for watching / listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.